Corvette engineers are actually insane because they went and built this. The 1,000 horsepower ZR1, a proper American supercar killer. By far the most powerful Corvette ever made when it came out, until it was upstaged by its own sibling, the ZR1X, which adds the hybrid system. But as you can expect, this thing is ballistic, mind-bendingly fast, but surprisingly usable and livable despite being a 1,000 horsepower rear-wheel drive supercar. We're going to be spending some time living with the ZR1. We just flew into LA and picked up the car. I am so excited because I'm a fan of the C8 platform. With the C7, they were really getting to the limit of what they could do with front engine rear-wheel drive. The C7 ZR1 is very, very cool, but when they went mid-engine, it really opened up a new envelope of possibility. I didn't become a buyer until they did the wider body, flat plane crank Z06. I've owned my 2023 Z06 since new. Absolutely love that car. And one of my biggest worries of spending some time with the ZR1 is I really hope it doesn't make me regret buying the Z06. I'm not gonna regret. I love my Z06, but 1,000 horsepower. Anyways, I like to think that the executives at Ferrari, Lamborghini, and McLaren were all panicking when they found out about the ZR1. Oh, like, it's gonna have how much horsepower, how much performance, for how much money? Just $200,000, right? These things are mental, absolutely ridiculous. I've actually gotten to drive the ZR1 before. Last year during Monterey Car Week in August, a drive down Highway 1 to Big Sur, beautiful scenic drive, very dynamic, short little experience, and yeah, obviously very impressive. But now we get to spend a bit more time living with the ZR1 in the real world to see what it's like. So let's go have some fun. Welcome to Los Angeles and some traffic at LAX. Great way to start off some time with the ZR1, but oh man, am I excited. Full tank of gas showing 217 miles to empty. That actually is probably gonna go down as we go have some fun up in the mountains with this 1,000 horsepower monster. Interestingly, that's not way worse than my Z06. I'm pretty sure when I fill up my Z06, I see like 225-ish miles of total range. You don't buy these cars for the MPGs. I had forgotten how utterly absurdly fast this thing is. Oh my God. That was like half throttle. You know, I just thought of something. I have only driven the ZR1 in California. My first time was last year during Monterey Car Week in August. We went down Highway 1 to Big Sur. It was obviously an amazing drive on an amazing road, and now here in LA. But California has 91 octane, not even full 93 octane. So technically, I haven't driven the ZR1 on full unlocked power because it's 91. It's not, I mean, it's not that big of a difference, but just a funny thought. PCH in a ZR1, life is good. I came straight up to the mountains to some of my favorite roads around the Malibu area, had some fun in the ZR1, we took some photos and videos. Now the sun is setting, take a look at that view. That looks spectacular. The sunset, the mountains, and the ZR1. And this one is fitted with the full aggression carbon aero pack. So we have the more aggressive front splitter with the canards, and then we have the S-duct, the vent here with the little carbon wicker up front. And then because this one is a coupe, we've got the intakes here on the shoulder, and then the big boomerang has an intake. That one is for brake cooling. And then the absolutely massive rear wing. This rear wing is so hilariously enormous, and I love how the end plates angle out there, but it is just a gigantic dinner table size rear wing. We also have the split window right here with the carbon spine. Honestly, like everything on this car, all the aero pieces are carbon except for the diffuser, which I think is kind of weird, right? So that's a weird oversight. That's just glossy black. Even the side skirts here are carbon fiber. What a good spec. What an epic car. What an epic view. But it's been a long day, long travel day. I need to hit the road. I haven't eaten dinner quite yet, and I am starving. We're gonna head over to our hotel for the night. This is always one of my favorite parts of what I do. I have one of the most epic cars on sale today. Some amazing driving roads, beautiful scenery. Look at that backdrop with the mountains and the sunset. I like to just kind of stand here and take it in, look at the car, look at the scenery, enjoy the drive. I am very, very lucky that I talk about cars on YouTube and then Chevy hands me the keys to a ZR1. Pretty crazy. We need to talk a bit more about the exhaust note. It sounds good. Not quite as piercing and loud as the Z06. The turbos will muffle it a bit, but it still sounds really good. It has a very similar character, just toned down a bit, but you do get boost noises. They are sibling engines, the LT6 and LT7. They're both flat plane crank V8s. This twin turbo one is still a flat plane crank V8. So it sounds definitely really good. Not quite as maybe pure and intense as the Z06, but it more than makes up for it with everything else that the ZR1 has to offer. Also, this has the new interior, which we'll need to go more in depth, talk about some of the differences from the pre-refresh RIP Great Wall of Corvette buttons instead of a grab handle here. Overall, I'm actually really liking this interior update, but we'll get more into it as we spend a bit more time. I need to hit the road. Although up in the mountains, as you can see, I have absolutely no signal, so it'll take a little bit for me to get Google Maps loaded. I'll just start driving. I know the roads around here. Seriously, look at the view out of the side view mirror. You have that giant intake on the shoulder and then that wing with the rear end plate. It's so cool. Let's get out of here. Front lift up. Gotta protect that carbon front splitter. I already set up my Z mode. I like having pretty much everything in full aggression except for suspension. I put suspension in the softest because we're on the real world streets, not a perfectly smooth racetrack. So having some suspension compliance always helps the car just feel a little bit more settled, absorb the bumps and stuff like that. Some of these canyon roads are actually pretty rough. Oh my gosh. You can really hear the whistle and spool of those turbos like layered on top. I have no idea if the mic can actually pick it up between the wind noise and the exhaust noise and the Eddie talking noise, but in person you can definitely notice it. Oh my God. It is just unending, addicting power. Oh my gosh. Do I have signal here? Nope, it's even worse. I'm gonna go this way. I know the road's kind of up here, but how to get out? Usually my default is just head south towards PCH, right? Once you hit PCH Malibu, you kind of figure out where you're going. It's so easy to drive though. That's the thing. Now I am just in my Z mode, right? And I haven't fiddled around with PTM at all. I'm not going to. Not up on these roads right now as it's getting dark. Performance traction management is what gives you those different stages of traction control, and I'm leaving it in full aggression just to make sure it reins in the aggression of the ZR1. But if you want to, you can start dialing it down and it'll really start unlocking the tire shredding maniacness. So they have boost by gear dialed in really well. That's what you have to do with cars like this. You cannot just give it full power in first gear because you'll just blow the tires off. It doesn't have the X's front motor to help just put power down to the actual pavement. So boost by gear is critical. Not that I feel like I'm losing out on some of the power and torque right now. I think I might have turned the wrong way. This is not towards PCH. Oh well. Jeez. It's just so so easy. Now, I will caveat that I'm familiar with this platform, having owned my Z06 for many years and driven, I think, every single variant of the C8 except for the upcoming Grand Sport and I guess the ZR1X, right? But I've spent a lot of time, a lot of miles behind C8s on track, on road, canyon road, so I'm familiar. But regardless of all of that, for a 1,000 horsepower rear-wheel drive car, it is shockingly civilized. I won't say tame because it's still ballistic, but it doesn't want to kill you. Now you have to respect it still. Like if you're being an idiot, it probably will. But what I'm comparing it to is something like a McLaren 765 LT, Ferrari Pista, McLaren P1. Those are some rear-wheel drive cars that come to mind that technically aren't on the horsepower level of this car, but they are rowdy. They are kind of scary. Like if you're not careful at a P1, it feels like it wants to kill you. It wants to loop the rear end, and you have to be very, very just on it the whole time. Whereas this one, the way it puts the power down and then the comfort, you get very accustomed to 1,000 horsepower very quickly, which is slightly alarming. I think it's so accessible. It's got to be the easiest to drive, most accessible 1,000 horsepower rear-wheel drive car, I think. And there aren't many of them. I'm trying to think what else in the realm of normal production cars is 1,000 horsepower rear-wheel drive. One quick launch. Yeah, that was no traction through the first half of first gear. It was sideways and it hooked, grabbed, and then it just kept going. What the heck? ZR1 is rated at 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds. Quarter mile in was it 9.6 at 150 miles an hour? The ZR1X may have stolen some of the headlines because obviously more traction with the electric motor up front. They ran on a prep surface and it was a sub 2 second to 0 to 60 and a quarter mile in the 8s. But this, again, rear-wheel drive. Oh good, I found PCH. Let's go back into tour mode. Settle down, about an hour drive to my hotel. Arrived at the hotel, found a parking spot here in the corner against the wall. Parked as close as I could. This thing is still pretty dang wide. Same width as an E-Ray or a Z06, but they are all pretty wide. Quite a bit more than a regular Stingray. All right, good night, ZR1. See you tomorrow. Oh, looks so good, even in this grungy parking garage. Hello again, ZR1. I missed you. All right, ready for cold start? Properly loud cold start. Magnificent. One habit I have from my Z06 is I usually don't even move the car until that reaches 100 degrees. Just get stuff warmed up a little bit before you start driving. The ZR1 on the freeway is actually pretty comfortable. In tour mode, the valves close, the exhaust quiets down, and it actually rides very nicely. That's the beauty of magnetic ride dampers. And if I recall correctly, the ZR1 is actually tuned to be slightly softer than the Z06 in its softest mode because this is meant to be more of a GT car, a touring, more comfortable, daily drivable Corvette despite the insane power number. The Z06 is supposed to be a little bit more hard edge, a little bit more track focus, and this thing is actually surprisingly comfortable just to drive around. Just under half a tank of fuel, and it's showing 103 miles to empty. That's because I have driven it 106.8 miles, averaging 11.2 mpg. It's all about the miles per gallon. Something else I'm noticing is the digital rearview mirror camera is mounted noticeably lower. I'm pretty sure it's because the rear wing is so gigantic. The normal position on the top of the roof towards the back, it would just be completely blocked by the wing. So it does look lower than in my Z06. Look, a BMW i8. I used to have one of those. I actually really liked it. It was a really cool daily driver, although these days I think they're worth 40 grand. We picked up a friend. Drake Moscow, welcome to the ZR1.
Welcome to LA.
Welcome to LA with the Corvette ZR1. This thing, what do you think? Fast, right?
It's fast and it's loud.
It's really loud. Step 1, apply sunscreen.
Hey, in SoCal, you gotta protect yourself.
I did. I did sunscreen too, because my watch tan line is so bad.
Oh.
Who has a worse watch tan line?
I think I do.
I think I do.
Really?
But I think because I'm tanner, I'm darker.
Yeah.
Asian things. Anyways, back to the ZR1. Oh, almost called a Z06. Drake is going to do a little short form video with this thing, and then I'll do some filming. Oh my gosh, Sebring Orange is a very, very nice paint. I actually thought about ordering my Z06 in orange, but then somebody said something about how the front end looks kind of like a jack-o'-lantern in orange because you get all the black, like contrast fangs, like the teeth or something. I'm like, I can't unsee that anymore, and I do love Rapid Blue. But if I were ordering a brand new Z06 ZR1 right now, Roswell Green is probably one of my favorite colors. It looks so cool on this. Competition Yellow is also really cool, a darker yellow, but this Sebring Orange is also very, very nice with all the black accents, the nice matching orange calipers there, and then this inside with the light gray two-tone contrast with some orange stitching. The carbon roof on this one, of course, as a coupe, you can remove this, put it in the rear trunk, or you can do the hardtop convertible. But the downside of convertible is you lose the intake on the shoulder here. So the coupe is actually slightly better performing because of this shoulder intake, which is functional. You can see there's a little honeycomb mesh there. Air will be channeled in to this compartment here. Actually, let me pop the trunk. Look for the E. There's a button back here. Reach over the gigantic rear wing. And then seat right there, that is actually functional. Woohoo! All carbon.
Goes in here.
Goes in down here, right? So the convertible loses it. It has a smooth shoulder right there. So not only does it look more aggressive, it's more functional. There is one downside here with the ZR1 because we no longer have a front trunk because of this functional S-duct. Essentially, this channels air through, up, over, very similar to the Ferrari Pista. This is actual race car stuff. And then this one here, the carbon arrow, you add this little wicker piece and you got the mesh, which does mean no front trunk. They got rid of the button too. So on my Z06 or really any C8, there's a button here for opening the front trunk, but on a ZR1, you really don't have a need to do that. Wait, I think it has to. It has to open for, yeah. So that button is still there. There's two buttons on the side. So you no longer have a radiator in there. And then
if you really wanted to, you
that would be very, very, very not suggested. So you lose the front trunk, which means because I picked up Drake, I couldn't keep my backpack in the passenger footwell, which is what I usually do, which means you have to put it back here in the rear trunk. So this is the only practicality left on your ZR1. If you take the roof panel off and it slots in here, you really have nowhere to put anything anymore. And it gets hot. It gets real toasty, yeah. I never use the rear trunk in my Z06 because it gets so hot. Like if you put some ice cream in here, I guarantee you'd have a tub of milk once you're done driving because it gets legitimately, I mean, just the engine's right there, right? So this is designed for golf clubs. They specifically made sure that you could still fit golf clubs even though it's mid-engine, but it's kind of a funky shape. You can fit a carry-on suitcase back here, but the other variable now is with this wing, it's legitimately kind of challenging to reach over because it's not only tall, it's wide. Like this thing is hanging off the rear bumper by a good foot. Like that's got to be about a foot. This massive rear wing. So now you have to reach over this and then set your stuff in and be careful not to damage your wing, damage any part of the body. And the other thing is if you're vertically challenged, I'm 6'3" and it's already a little bit of a challenge to get stuff in there. If you're like 5'6", garden gnome height, dude, like you might be shorter than the wing and then how do you put stuff into the trunk? Anyways, practicality considerations when you've got a ZR1.
Real consumer advice.
This is valuable consumer advice. Seriously, how do you fix tan lines? Like, is it possible?
Just don't wear a watch.
Don't wear a watch? Holy crap. No traction. Oh, an unprepped surface, rear-wheel drive. You can fiddle with your launch control and change the launch RPM, the slip, a little more sideways shenanigans. But the way this thing builds and then carries speed is just magnificent. And this is not even full out aggression. We're on PS4S tires, which I'm happy about because PS4S tires are usable in the real world. If it gets wet, if it gets cold, although we are in sunny Southern California right now. Weather has been perfect, but in the real world, if it gets cold, wet, the Cup 2Rs, when you get the ZTK pack, are like unusable. I had Cup 2Rs on my Z06 because the Z07 car, and yeah, I actually got caught in the rain, and I was doing 40 miles an hour because I didn't want to hydroplane. There's like no grooves on that thing at all. It's pretty much a slick, and they don't really last that long. So PS4S is great, but like if you really want max attack stickiness, Cup 2Rs are a tier up, and that's what they're going to run when they like set the lap records with these kind of cars. But here in the real world on these canyon roads, I am more than happy. I mean, it's not like they're skatey tires either. They're 345s out back. They're just enormous steamrollers of rubber. And you notice I'm in Z mode right now, and I have it set it up pretty much exactly the same way I do in my Z06, where everything is in full aggression, and then the dampers are in the most soft and friendly setting, because again, these roads have cracks, bumps. That's the real world, and I like a little bit of compliance. Just personal preference. That's how I set up Z mode. It's easy to access here on the steering wheel. I love how this LT7 brings the personality sound of the Z06 flat plane crank. This is still flat plane crank, but just with the boost on top. It doesn't rev quite as high, but are you really gonna notice? Because as soon as you get into the upper rev ranges, speed is building at such an alarming rate. You're just trying not to hit the rev limiter and try to hang on for dear life. So yeah, the Z06 revs just a little bit higher. This one's 8,000 RPM, but I have no complaints. It really does a good job preserving the feeling. A lot of people ask me sound, like, hey, does the ZR1 sound as good as the Z06? Because the Z06 is one of the best sounding cars, I think. It's just so good. From a stock form, I have friends all the time who are like, do you have an exhaust on your car? I'm like, nope, that's stock. When you're in like race mode, it's just like track mode, the exhaust is just like straight open, and it sounds like a pissed off American 458. And is this quite as loud as piercing? No, but I still think it sounds, I call it 75, 80%, maybe 85% is good. Just listen to it. Right? I'm gonna turn around and keep doing this. I have literally burned through half a tank of gas today. Worth it. We're clear, no traffic here. See, we got the Creature Comforts Attack backup camera. Look at all those front camera angles, front lift. It has everything. This is what I would do if I owned a ZR1 here. Exactly what I'm doing every single day. Hours and hours driving on these canyon roads. That's literally what I've been doing today. I've been filming, I've been driving, I've been filming, I've been driving. And I've been going to the gas station, which I would do again today. I'm at half a tank showing 85 miles to empty. Heck yeah. The stats associated with the ZR1 are like hilarious, and it makes it fun to tell people. They're like, hey, did you know this thing produces 37 pounds of thrust at full throttle out of the exhaust? People are like, what? There was another stat. It was like, at full throttle, it aspirates enough air to fill an Olympic swimming pool in like 4 minutes or something, right? It's just gulping in air with these massive turbochargers, but there's also like no lag. You sometimes remember, like, when you get really big turbos, older turbo technology, they just weren't as responsive. It's like nothing, and bam, it blows the tires off. Well, these also have anti-lag, so even when you're off the power, it's keeping the turbo spooled up, so it is ready to deliver that power and torque whenever you want across such a wide power band. It delivers torque down low. It is significantly more torquey than the Z06, which, yeah, you have to rev the pants off that thing to feel like you're going anywhere. It's something like 800 pound-feet of torque at 3,000 RPM in this thing. And I can't even imagine with the ZR1X, because then you get the E-motor instant torque, and that's a juiced up E-motor from the E-Ray, right? It's 186 horsepower, and I forget the torque number, but the total output of the ZR1X, 1,250, as if 1,064 in this thing was not enough, inadequate. I think it's so hilarious that they went from 670 horsepower in the Z06 up to 1064 here. This is an analogy I use. McLaren has 720S, 765LT, 750S. It would be as if McLaren did the 720S and then the 1000LT, right? They don't do that. The 1000 horsepower club is for their like Halo Ultimate Series cars. We're talking like P1, the W1, Speedtail. We're like the multi-million-dollar cars. They don't just go from the 720S to, let's give you 1000 horsepower. That's what Corvette did. And then they went one further, and it's $250,000 if you get one at MSRP, right? Wild. I think it's so crazy that if you have money, you can just buy one of these. Temps have stayed nice and cool. It's not too crazy hot out today. I think in the mid-70s. But I have been driving this thing exuberantly, we'll call it that, right? And the temps have actually stayed very cool. I think Corvette learned their lesson from the C7 generation. C7 Z06s were very, very prone to overheating, heat soak. Superchargers are actually a little more difficult from that regard too, but mid-engine, the airflow has been set up, the cooling, this has even more heat exchangers to radiators. Just the cooling capacity has been so far upgraded just to handle the the utilization that owners will put their cars through, and also on track to snatch all those track records, right? This thing has been properly engineered. Whee! Oh my God, I could do this for days. Oh yeah, these gauges are cool. I'll do a little interior tour to show you a couple different things in this thing too. But as you can tell, I am so enamored and in love with this thing. If you put keys to a ZR1, a McLaren 750S, a GT3 RS, what else? Huracan, Performante, like so many different cars that are double the price, 3 times the price of this thing, I'm taking the ZR1. Right? If you do price-to-price comparison, like think about what you can buy for $250,000. A McLaren Artura, cool car. This thing is a different stratosphere, right? A GT3, a base GT3, a spectacular car. The Engagement, a manual GT3, but a touring is like 300 grand now. Right? It's 500 horsepower. And like, GT3s are really nice. I love it. I don't want the Porsche GT Club to come after me and start yelling at me. I really, really love Porsche GT cars. Someday I would love to own a 991.2 GT3 manual. But the ZR1 is just in a different league. This thing is punching 3 times above its weight class and doing this kind of stuff. Yeah, maybe I'm biased. Actually, I am biased. I own a Z06, so clearly I love the C8 platform. But yeah, I'm taking the keys to the ZR1. All right, I found a little turnout so we can take a look at the interior. This is the updated one, which came out for the 2026 model, right? So there's 3 screens now. We've got an updated infotainment screen, a revised digital cluster here in the middle, and then this additional little screen here on the left. It is a touch screen. We can go things like our trip information. So I've been doing a solid 9.1 mpg over 196.8 miles. I will be soon on my 3rd tank of gas, I think. Wait, is that right? Anyways, I'm burning a lot of fuel. You can swipe through here. So the nice little screen here on the left. Oh my. Last hour, 5.8 mpg. That is proper enjoyment. But we can also go on, that's the layout thing. Wait, no, let me go back to performance. So you can see some gauges here. Look at those temps, nice and cool. Tire stuff. Oh, a little G-force friction window, or friction circle, that's what that's called. Engine output, engine boost. Oh, that's cool. ELSD coupling too, man. So that's really, really cool. But you can also go down here. So this is a really good change that I like. Our PTM, Performance Traction Management toggle, is now here. So PTM off, you toggle down, you got wet, dry, sport, race 1, race 2, and then pro, right? So there's different levels of ESC intervention and traction control. You have to be, I would recommend being a pro if you ever go into pro mode, because yeah, this would be ridiculous. But that is a huge improvement. Same thing with launch control. You see the little rocket right there? Oh, here, you can see the icons a little better. There's the PTM one, traction control, and then the rocket. That's for launch control. So off, auto, or a manual setting where we can dial up or down the, what are you doing? Oh, I need to be in drive. Silly me. So now we can change our launch control RPM and the amount of slip that we want. So this is variable, it's customizable. It says floor. I'm not launching it right now. I am looking at a tree. All right, and then we have our full digital cluster. This is the new track layout view. So we've got a little tile here on the left with our temperatures, and then tire pressures on the right. 68 miles empty, lovely. If I exit out of Z mode, this is what sport looks like. And then this, I'll get to this right now because we're talking about drive modes. This is the new drive mode toggle. So everything used to be a little spinny dial here. There's a little like arm hand rest thing and a little spinny dial for your drive modes, but now it's just a toggle up and down, which I've actually grown to really, really like. So there's track, animation is obviously really cool, sport, tour, my mode, and then weather, right? So the modes are still the same, but you now interface with this little back and forth toggle, which the drive modes toggle wasn't bad, but trying to get into PTM, I hate it. On mine, the previous one, that's probably my biggest pet peeve. Trying to get into PTM drives me kind of insane, right? So you gotta like double click at the right time. If you do it too fast, it doesn't do it anyways. And then we've got a shortcut button here for the front cameras, which is always handy. I use that all the time for parking. And then our front lift. This stays the same as the pre-refresh one, but now we have some little toggles right here, buttons for our climate, and then at the bottom of the infotainment screen, this always stays because there's no more hard buttons for your heated, cooled seats and things like that, right? So that little climate thing stays regardless of what's going on your main infotainment screen. We have said goodbye to the Great Wall of Corvette buttons, which was a lot of personality for the Corvette interior. It was cool, and it gave you really like cockpit feeling. There's still this like angled little handle here, but no more row of buttons. They've redesigned that a bit. I like the buttons, but at the same time, I can see how it's not the most user-friendly. I'll be honest, there are still times, I've had my Z06 for 3 years now, where I'm like, wait, which heated seat is mine? I think the little seat icon points to me, so I use that one, right? So that's changed, and also I remember seeing something funny. It was like, you take a turn too fast, your passenger grabs the great wall of buttons, all of a sudden you've got defrost on, heated seat on, and their cooled seat on, right? We've got cup holders here, which are pretty cool. They've got a little Corvette logo in there, and they've got some illumination. And then this wireless phone charger is actually really, really handy. It's got this like spring-loaded little holder, and I've been driving like a maniac up here in the canyons, and my phone has not moved. So that is nice. And you still have the wireless charger back here. So you have two redundant wireless chargers, which is pretty nifty. The center console stays the same. Steering wheel is essentially the same. This is heated steering wheel, your Z mode button, but there's some like driver assistant stuff, but whatever. ZR1 logo right here, and the digital rearview mirror. You can go back to conventional. Obviously, targa roof comes off here. We've got the cool stitching. This one is a 3LZ with a Bose sound system, which is actually pretty good. Build quality, materials feel very nice. I mean, the interior is essentially the same across the top spec Corvettes. So that is one thing where once you get to the ZR1, it's not like there's more carbon or they redesign it. There isn't that much differentiation between this interior and honestly like a Stingray or an E-Ray, right? So that is one thing where you're not necessarily getting more, but that also the money, right? Like it's only $100,000 more than a Z06 for all of the engineering and performance. That's where they put the money. Now the digital cluster right there, we checked that out. Let me see what else. We got the memory seats. That's pretty much everything on the interior, and genuinely I have grown to actually really, really like this layout. We've got some of the performance stuff here. So we've got, oh, engine data is unavailable right now for some reason, but you can see engine output, all these different tiles you can customize. We got some wait, my last 0 to 60 was a 7.4. Oh, that might have been, that's me, I think, because it was showing 2.9 earlier. Yeah, maybe I did the 0 to 60 2.7. And then of course we also have PDR. Where is PDR? Right there. Right, if you're on the track, it's got track coaching, it's got the different, nothing is loaded on this one, I'm not on a track, but PDR is really cool. This is the newer PDR system, which came out on the Cadillac Blackwing. Yeah, it's got coaching analysis. It's really cool. It tells you like, hey, in this turn, you could save 0.6 seconds by blah, 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 right? It's actually really, really cool. And they upped the camera resolution slightly. This is a built-in Google system too, so you can see there's some apps here. We've got native Google Maps, but I have just been using CarPlay pretty much the entire time while driving around. So that's a quick look at the interior. These upgrades, these changes would be applicable across the lineup, right? So if you get yourself a Grand Sport. You get yourself a Z06. It's all this new interior layout. There was, the ZR1 had 1 year of the old interior, 2025 model year, and then they very quickly went to 26 with a new layout. So there are some very rare ZR1s with the pre-refresh. The first one I drove, I think, was actually a 2025, so it was the old layout. There are a couple of those out here, but the vast majority are going to be this new layout. Seats are same. You can see the engine back there, the glorious LT7. Yes. All right, I am going to head back down to somewhere that I have cell signal, because there's no signal at all to be found up here. This is how you know you've been driving the ZR1 properly. The fans are going crazy. As you can tell, I absolutely love the Corvette ZR1. It is addictingly fast, so much fun, just an epic machine. I had quite a bit of fun spending some time living with the ZR1, burning through 3 tanks of gas, which was absolutely worth it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Check out some of my other ZR1 and Z06 content. There was a very fun video where I took my wife Angel for the passenger seat ride in the ZR1, and she's a trooper. I was very impressed that she handled it, but at one point she was like, honey, we need to slow down or I am going to throw up, because we're on a really curvy road in a really fast car and I was having fun. But if you want to see my wife's reaction to riding passenger in the ZR1, I don't think she would get back in a ZR1 with me. If she was here and I was like, honey, let's go take the ZR1 for a drive, she'd be like, no, you go. I refuse, right? Ew. She's traumatized by this thing. But
I'm terrified right now. This is great. This is very good. Let's just take a little break for the pizza to settle in my stomach. Being passenger princess to EddieX is not for the faint-hearted.
oh, did you hear that?
Yeah.
That is violently fast. Oh, what a machine. Oh, your hair is a little messy.
I'm glad you're having fun.
But anyways, this was spectacularly fun. Love this car. What a masterpiece of American engineering. A proper supercar. Argue in the comments. Is the ZR1 a supercar? I say yes, without a doubt. Absolutely. No question about it. If you define a supercar as a car that is super, beyond the norm of what other cars are able to achieve, this does, without a single doubt in my mind. Hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. Thanks for watching.